Welcome back to Story A's 13, your place for eerie tales that linger long after the lights go out. Tonight, we travel to a forgotten village where a church once stood proud, before it was reduced to ashes. But at midnight, something still rings out from the ruins. In the heart of a forgotten countryside, where shadows linger and secrets whisper on the wind, there lies a village untouched by time. It's a place where the veil between worlds grows thin, and the past refuses to stay buried. Our tale begins with Alex, a wanderer drawn to the quiet streets and shuttered windows of this rural hamlet. As twilight descended, Alex found himself in the village square, surrounded by weathered buildings and wary glances. The air grew heavy with unspoken warnings, and a chill crept up his spine. An old man, his face etched with the lines of countless seasons, approached with shuffling steps. "Stranger," the elder rasped, his voice barely above a whisper, "heed my words. Never go near the hill at midnight." His rheumy eyes darted to the darkening horizon. The bell still rings, though the tower fell long ago. Alex felt a shiver course through him, but curiosity burned brighter than fear. He nodded to the old man, feigning agreement, but his mind was already racing with questions. What bell? What hill? The mysteries of this place called to him like a siren's song. As night fell, Alex slipped away from the village, following an overgrown path that wound its way up a gentle slope. The moon hung low and bloated in the sky, casting long shadows across the empty fields. In the distance, he could make out the jagged silhouette of ruins against the starlit sky. The burned church stood before him, a skeletal remnant of faith and flame. Blackened stones reached toward heaven like gnarled fingers, and the air grew thick with the memory of smoke. Alex's footsteps echoed in the eerie stillness as he approached the crumbling walls. Where the bell tower once stood, there was nothing but a pile of rubble. No gleaming metal, no ropes swaying in the breeze. Just silence and the weight of forgotten prayers. Alex checked his watch. 11:59 p.m. He held his breath, waiting for ... something, anything. But as the seconds ticked by, only the whisper of wind through dead grass reached his ears, and then it happened. At the stroke of midnight, a sound pierced the night, deep, resonant, impossibly loud. The toll of a bell echoed across the hillside, vibrating through Alex's very bones. He stumbled back, eyes wide with disbelief. Again, the bell rang out, and again. Each peal seemed to shake the very foundations of the earth. From the scorched ground, tendrils of smoke began to rise. They twisted and coiled, taking on impossible shapes. Spectral figures formed in the mist, men, women, children, all with their heads bowed in prayer. Before Alex's disbelieving eyes, the ruined church began to change. Stones lifted from the ground, reforming walls and arches. A ghostly spire stretched toward the heavens, crowned by a shimmering bell that swung of its own accord. The congregation of spirits filled the pews, their whispered hymns carried on the night air. At the altar, a priest raised his arms, his voice rising above the others in fervent supplication. But something was wrong. Terribly, horribly wrong. Flames licked at the edges of this otherworldly vision. They crept along the walls, hungrily devouring wood and cloth. The spirits seemed oblivious, trapped in their endless devotion, even as fire consumed them. Alex watched in horror as the inferno raged, the screams of the damned mingling with the relentless tolling of the bell. This was no mere memory, it was a nightmare played out in ghostly form, doomed to repeat for all eternity. The ground beneath his feet began to tremble. Cracks appeared in the earth, wisps of acrid smoke rising from the depths. The bell's toll grew louder, more insistent, until it was all Alex could hear. Terror gripped him then, primal and overwhelming. He turned and ran, stumbling down the hill as the world shook around him. Behind him, the spectral church collapsed once more, the anguished cries of its phantom congregation fading into the night. Alex ran until his lungs burned and his legs gave out. He collapsed at the edge of the village, gasping for air, his mind reeling from what he had witnessed. As dawn's first light crept over the horizon, villagers found him, pale, trembling, muttering about bells and fire and souls trapped in endless torment. They exchanged knowing glances, helping the stranger to his feet. "You went to the hill," an old woman said. It wasn't a question. Alex nodded, unable to find words to describe the horrors he had seen. "And you heard the bell?" Another villager asked, his voice hushed. Again, Alex could only nod. The villagers murmured among themselves, a mix of pity and fear in their eyes. "It's been years since anyone heard it," someone whispered. "We hoped it was finally silent." As the sun rose higher, chasing away the last remnants of night, Alex found his voice at last. What happened there?" he asked, his words barely audible. The old woman who had spoken first sighed heavily. "It's an old story," she said, "one we don't often share with outsiders. But you've seen it now, haven't you? You've heard the midnight bell." She gestured for Alex to follow her, leading him to a small cottage on the outskirts of the village. As they settled around a worn wooden table, she began to speak. "The church on the hill was once the pride of our village," she said, her eyes distant with memory. "But pride, they say, comes before a fall. The priest who tended it, he had ideas, dark ideas. He spoke of old gods, of sacrifice and power." Alex listened, transfixed, as she wove the tale of how the priest's sermons grew stranger, how fear and suspicion spread through the village like a poison, of the night when smoke was seen rising from the hill, and the terrible screams that echoed in the darkness. "By the time we reached the church, it was too late," the old woman said, her voice barely above a whisper. "The doors were barred from the inside. We could only watch as the flames consumed everything and everyone inside." She fell silent then, lost in the weight of memory. Alex's mind reeled, trying to reconcile the story with the impossible vision he had witnessed. "But the bell," he said at last, "I saw it, heard it. How?" The old woman shook her head. "Some say it's the souls of those who perished, unable to find rest. Others believe it's a warning, a reminder of the evil that can take root in the hearts of men. All we know is that on some nights, when the moon is full and the air is still, the bell rings out, and those who hear it, they're never quite the same." As Alex left the village that day, the weight of what he had experienced settled over him like a shroud. He knew that the sound of that phantom bell would haunt his dreams for years to come. And he understood, now, why some secrets are best left buried, some stories best left untold. For in the quiet corners of the world, where shadows linger and the past refuses to die, there are truths too terrible to face in the light of day. And sometimes the tolling of a bell in the night is more than just a sound. It's a reminder that some fires never truly go out, and some scenes can never be fully washed away. You've just heard the story of the midnight bell of the burned church. Some say the sound is just the wind, Others whisper that the congregation still prays in fire. What do you believe, and would you dare to listen for the bell yourself?